Hello everyone, welcome to sj'sclasses and your final session on Sophocles Antigone. Please do watch the earlier videos that I have posted on my YouTube channel so that you can understand both the play and the playwright in their entirety. So before we move on to the final part of the play, let me just summarize the events that we confronted as part of our earlier readings. So at the outset, we find that both Polynices and Eteocles have died. They have killed each other. And the new king, who is King Crayon, has given this proclamation that Eteocles will be given the post death rites. He will be given an honorable burial. But Polynices, who fought against the city of Thebes along with the Argive army, will not be given an honorable burial. Antigone and Ismene, the only daughters of Oedipus and the only children who are alive, they are very sad at this. And Antigone, she wants to give an honorable burial to Polynices. And she goes ahead with her decision. And she is caught in the act, the second time, in fact. The sentry, he brings Antigone before Crayon. They have an argument between each other, and Crayon is so upset with the counter arguments that Antigone raises that he decides to uh, imprison her for her life. And finally, we see that she is taken away to her cell. In between, we also saw, or we bore witness to the conversation between Crayon and Haman. And Haman, he tries to counsel Crayon by saying that, Father, please have second thoughts. Please rethink on your decision. Crayon, he has now turned himself into an arrogant, authoritarian sort of ruler, and therefore he is not going to budge. He is not going to listen to a person who is so young. And he even decides to kill Antigone in front of Haman. And Haman walks away. And we wound up the previous session at a particular point where Antigone was bidding goodbye to everyone, to the city, to the elders, to all the subjects. So she bid goodbye and she was taken to her rock hewn chamber where she will wait for her death. That is the point where we stopped the previous session. Now let's move into the final part. We begin it with the fourth stasimon, which is sung by the chorus. Such was the fate, my child, of Danae, locked in a brazen bower, a prison secret as a tomb, where was no day, daughter of kings, her royal womb garnered the golden shower of life from Zeus. So strong is destiny, no wealth, no armory, no tower, no ship that rides the angry sea, her mastering hand can stay. So in this particular statement, which is the fourth statement, we find the chorus, singing an ode to well-known figures of the past. The chorus is making a reference, or it is addressing a few mythological figures who possibly suffered the same fate as that of Antigone. I'll elaborate on that once I complete reading the statement. And Dryas' son, proud Edonian king, pined in a stony cell at Dionysius' bidding, pent to cool his fire till all his full-blown passion spent. He came to know right well what god his ribald tongue was challenging, when he would break the fiery spell of the wild Maenads, revelling and vex the muses' choir. So you have a second reference here. I will elaborate the reference once I complete reading the statement. The third one. It was upon the side of Bosporus where the black rocks stand by Thracian Salmidases over the twin tide that Thracian Ares laughed to see how Phineus' angry wife most bloodily blinded his two sons' eyes that mutely cried for vengeance. Crazed with jealousy, the woman smote them with the weaving needle in her hand. Forlorn they wept away their sad step-childhood's misery, predestined from their mother's ill-starred marriage day. She was of old Erectid blood, cave-dwelling daughter of the north wind god. On rocky steeps as mountain ponies play, the wild winds nursed her maidenhood. On her, my child, the grey fates laid hard hands as upon thee. So, as I said earlier, the chorus, they make or this choric song, this testament is an ode to a few mythological figures, a few well-known figures of the past who were also forced to endure cruel punishment. Now, for instance, the very first reference that the chorus makes is uh, to Acrisius, the king of Argos, who imprisoned her daughter Danae because an oracle had predicted that her son would kill him. So the very first story is that of Danae, who was imprisoned by her father Acrisius because he received an oracle that Danae's son would kill him. But Acrisius could not escape the hand of fate, and what we see as we read the story further is that Zeus loved Danae so much that he came to meet her in the form of a shower of gold. And later we find that Acrisius was killed by the son of Danae and Zeus. And that is the first story that is being recounted here by Chorus. The second reference is to the legend of Phineus, whose two sons were blinded by their stepmother. That is the second story that is being narrated here. The sons they cry out to heaven for revenge until Zeus responded by blinding their father Phineus. We also have a reference to uh, Dryas, who was trapped in a vault of stone by the Greek god Dionysius. He was a mad ruler, and everyone wanted the gods to interfere in their life, in his vengeful ways of treating people, and therefore God Dionysius he decided to trap in a vault of stone. So we have three stories being recounted here by the chorus, and all are similar stories in the sense that Antigone, the kind of imprisonment that Antigone had to bear. So there we come to the end of fourth statement. Then we have Tiresias, who is a new character. He is a prophet and he is a blind prophet. Gentlemen of Thebes, we greet you, my companion and I. So Tiresias he is being led by a person as he is blind. So he gives them greetings. Who share one pair of eyes on our journeys together. For the blind man goes where his leaders tell him to. Crayon, you are welcome, Father Tiresias. What is your news? So as of now, Crayon addresses him as father, and he is very courteous to him. He is very polite to him. Things are going to change. That is why I stressed on this particular aspect here. Tiresias, I. News you shall have, and advice if you can heed it. So if you can pay close attention, if you can heed it, I will give you news as well as advice. So Crayon becomes a bit nervous. He says, there was never a time when I failed to heed it, Father Tiresias, and thereby have so far steered a steady course. So Tiresias says, it's because you have been listening to me that you have been able to travel so far without any bad experiences. So you better listen to me, Crayon, and gladly acknowledge the debt we owe you, Tiresias. Then mark me now, for you stand on a razor's edge, so you are in a very critical situation. That is what he means by saying you stand on a razor's edge. Crayon. Indeed, grave words from your lips, good priest. Grave words means serious words, words with serious implications. Grave words from your lips, good priest. Say on, Tiresias. I will, and show you all that my skill reveals. At my seat of divination, where I sit these many years to read the signs of heaven. So please bear in your mind that Tiresias is a prophet and he reads signs. He reads signs that are made available to him through his divine or divination, divine power, and that is how he gives others prophecies. So he is talking about that particular aspect of his life. At my seat of divination, where I sit these many years to read the signs of heaven, an unfamiliar sound came to my ears of birds in vicious combat, savage cries in strange outlandish language, and the whir of flapping wings, from which I well could picture the gruesome warfare of their deadly talons. So this is the unfamiliar sound that came to him. The sound of birds in vicious combat, fighting with each other, the savage cries of these birds, the flapping of the wings, the whirring of the wings. So, the sound of a warfare between birds, that is what Tiresias could listen to while he was at his seat of divination. The gruesome warfare of their deadly talons, full of foreboding, then I made the test of sacrifice upon the altar fire. There was no answering flame. Only rank juice oozed from the flesh and dripped among the ashes. So he wanted some sort of a response from the gods, and therefore he does a sacrifice in the altar fire, but there came no response. Only rank juice oozed from the flesh and dripped among the ashes. Probably he made a sacrifice of some animal. So there was no response from the gods. Smoldering and sputtering, the gold vanished in a puff, and the fat ran down the left and left the lounges bare. Thus, through the eyes of my young acolyte is someone who assists a priest. Here, the priest is Tiresias, and Tiresias is making a reference to the person who assists him. So, thus, through the eyes of my young acolyte, who sees for me that I may see for others, I read the signs of failure in my quest. So, this is what he has, you know, encountered signs of failure. And why? The blight upon us is your doing. The blight means the plague, that which has affected us, the affliction that we are confronting as of now. It's because of your doing. The blood that stains our altars and our shrines, the blood that dogs and vultures have licked up, it is none other than the blood of Oedipus spilled from the veins of his ill-fated son. So this is what is, making everything unholy today, or as of now. The blood of Oedipus spilled from the veins of one of his sons. It's Polonices whom Tiresias is talking about. Our fires, our sacrifices, and our prayers the gods abominate. And since he lie there dead, as he is not buried, the gods are rejecting our offerings, our fires, our sacrifices, our prayers. The gods abominate, means detest, they reject it, they hate it now. How should the birds give any other than ill-omened voices, gorged with the dregs of blood that man has shed? Mark this, my son. All men fall into sin, but sinning he is not forever lost. Hapless and helpless. Hapless means no, someone who deserves pity. Hapless and helpless, who can make amends and has not set his face against repentance. So what Tiresias is that it's not late. You can repent even now. You can take back your decisions. You can revoke your decisions, and you can even rethink on your decision, and thereby you can repent on your actions. And he says, only a fool is governed by self-will. Pay to the dead his due. Wound not the fallen. It is no glory to kill and kill again. My words are for your good, as is my will, and should be acceptable, being for your good. So I am saying this for your own good. So please accept whatever I have said, and please mend your ways. Please rethink your decisions. Crayon says, "You take me for your target, Reverend Sir. Like all the rest, I know you are out of old, and how you make me your commodity to trade and traffic in for your advancement." So look at how Crayon has interpreted this particular act of Tiresias. He believes that Tiresias wants to make some sort of profit. That is why he has come to him with this sort of news. Trade as you will. You can do anything that you want. But all the silver of Sardis, Sardis is an ancient Greek city, all the silver of Sardis and all the gold of India, we have a reference to our nation being made here, and all the gold of India will not buy a tomb for yonder traitor. So, irrespective of whatever that you say today to me, irrespective of whatever that you do today and tomorrow, you are never going to buy a tomb. You are never going to help the traitor escape from her punishment. No, let the eagles carry his carcass up to the throne of Zeus. Even that would not be sacrilege enough to frighten me from my determination not to allow this burial. No man's act has power enough to pollute the goodness of God. But great and terrible is the fall, Tiresias. So initially he addressed him as Father Tiresias. Initially he said that I have always listened to you, so please speak. But as of now he says you are doing this for your own gain. You are doing this for some sort of profit. You are trading. You are trading. You are making a business. So your fall is pathetic. The kind of state that you have, stooped into, it's pathetic. It's terrible. But great and terrible is the fall, Tiresias, of mortal men who seek their own advantage by uttering evil in the guise of good. So, as far as Crayon is concerned, Tiresias is uttering evil in the guise of good. Tiresias. Ah, is there any wisdom in the world? Crayon. Why? What is the meaning of that white flung taunt? So, taunt means, mockery, mocking someone deliberately. Tiresias. What price outweighs the priceless worth of prudence? So you are supposed to have prudence. Prudence means discretion in practical affairs. And what price outweighs the priceless worth of prudence? Crayon. Aye, what indeed? What mischief matches the lack of it? Tiresias. And there you speak of your own symptom, sir. Crayon. I am loath to pick a quarrel with you, priest. Loath means I am opposed. I don't want to pick up a quarrel with you. Tiresias. You do so, calling my divination false. Divination means the gift of prophecy that has been given to Tiresias by supernatural beings. So Crayon says, I don't want to fight with you. But Tiresias says, you are actually beginning a fight with me by telling that or by calling my divination false. Crayon. I say all prophets seek their own advantage. Tiresias. All kings, say I, seek gain unrighteously. Crayon. Do you forget to whom you say it? Tiresias. No. Our king and benefactor by my guidance. Crayon. Clever you may be, but not therefore honest. So Crayon goes to the extent of calling Tiresias a liar. You are lying, you are not honest, you are not speaking the truth. You are here for some sort of benefit, some sort of a gain. You are doing business here. Tiresias, must I reveal my yet unspoken mind? Crayon, reveal all, but expect no gain from it. So Tiresias has more news for Crayon. Crayon says you can reveal everything, but you please don't expect any sort of gain from it. Tiresias. Does that still seem to you my motive then? Crayon. Nor is my will for sale, sir, in your market. Tiresias. Then hear this. The chariot of the sun. Means before. Before the chariot of the sun has rounded once or twice his wheeling way, you shall have given a son of your own loins to death, in payment for death. So this is what Tiresias prophesies. You will lose your son to death, that your son will die before the day comes to an end. Two debts to pay. One for the life that you have sent to death, the life you have abominably entombed. One for the dead still lying above the ground, unburied, unhonored, unblessed by the gods below. So you'll do this at the cost of your son's life. This is the prophecy that Tiresias makes. You cannot alter this. The gods themselves cannot undo it. It follows of necessity from what you have done. Even now, the avenging Furies are goddesses of vengeance who punish men for the crimes they commit. So you cannot alter this. The gods themselves cannot undo it. It follows of necessity from what you have done. Even now, the avenging Furies, the hunters of hell that follow and destroy, are lying in wait for you and will have their prey. So, the Furies, who are the goddess of vengeance, are ready to punish you for the crime that you have committed. And what are the crimes that Crayon committed? He did not give an honorable burial to Polynices, and he, showed injustice to Antigone by imprisoning her. When the evil you have worked for others falls on you, do I speak this for my gain? The time shall come, and soon, when your house will be filled with the lamentation of men and of women, and every neighboring city will be goaded to fury against you, for upon them too the pollution falls when the dogs and vultures bring the defilement of blood to their hearts and altars. So you're soon going to have lamentations in your house. People are going to cry. Men, women, everyone are going to cry. So some sort of a bad thing is going to befall his house. And it's not just that, his neighboring kingdoms, they too will fight against you, because the defilement has been, defilement has reached even their altars and their hearts. So they are sure to fight against you. I have done. You pricked me, and these shafts of wrath will find their mark in your heart. You cannot escape the sting of their sharpness. Lead me home, my boy. So he talks to his acolyte and says, lead me home, my boy. His assistant, he tells him, lead me home, my boy. Let us leave him to vent his anger on younger ears, or school his mind and tongue to a milder mood than that which now possesses him. Lead on. And saying this, Tiresias exits. So this is the foreboding that Tiresias has had. This is the prophecy that he makes, that Crayon will lose his son, and he this he will have to confront because he has done two crimes. Chorus. He has gone, my lord. He has prophesied terrible things. And for my part, I that was young and now am old, have never known his prophecies proved false. So chorus feels nervous. They feel nervous because they know that his prophecies have never failed, which means Crayon might lose one of his sons. Crayon, it is true enough, and hard to stand and abide. It is hard to give way and hard to stand and abide. So Crayon is kind of confused. He doesn't want to revoke his decision, but he is frightened. He is frightened because Tiresias prophesied that Crayon might lose a son. So he is frightened and he is confused. The coming of the curse, both ways are hard. Chorus. If you would be advised, my good Lord Crayon, what must I do? Tell me, and I will do it. So look at how Crayon has changed. He has changed his tone, he has changed his stature, he has changed his decision. Now he is willing to take advice. He tells Chorus, what must I do? Tell me, and I will do it. Chorus, release the woman from her rocky prison. Set up a tomb for him that lies unburied. So these are the two things that you're supposed to do. Release Antigone and bury Polynices. Crayon. Is it your wish that I consent to this? Chorus. It is, and quickly. The gods do not delay the stroke of their swift vengeance on the sinner. Crayon. It is hard, but I must do it. Well, I know there is no armor against necessity. Chorus. Go, let your own hand do it, and no other. Crayon. I will go this instant. Slaves there, one and all, bring spades and mattocks. Mattocks means a kind of pick that is used for digging. So he wants to give a burial to Polynices. So he calls out to the slaves and he asks them to bring spades and mattocks to the hill. My mind is made. It was I who imprisoned her, and I will set her free. Now I believe it is by the laws of heaven that man must live. So till now there was a clash between the laws of heaven and the laws of man, man-made laws. But as of now, even Crayon accepts the fact that man has to live according to the laws of heaven. So as of now, that particular clash is over. We move on to the final stacimen. Chorus. O thou whose name is many, son of Thunderer, dear child of his Cadmean bride, whose hand is mighty in Italia, in the hospitable valley of Eleusis, and in Thebes, the mother city of thy worshippers, where sweet Ismenus gently watereth, the soil whence sprang the harvest of dragon's teeth, where torches on the crested mountains gleam, and by Castalia's stream the nymph train in the dance rejoices when from the ivy-tangled glens of Nissa, Nissa is the place of birth of god Dionysius, Nissa, and from wine-clad plains, thou comest to Thebes where the immortal voices sing thy glad strains. Thebes, where thou lovest most to be with her mother, thy mother, the fire-stricken one, sickens for need of thee, healer of all her ills, come swiftly over the high Parnassian hills, come over the sighing sea. The stars whose breath is fire delight to dance for thee. The echoing night shall with thy praises ring. Zeus born appear, with tired reveling, come bountiful Aeacus king. So this is yet another choric song that we confront, and this is the final choric song that we confront as part of this particular play. And it is more or less like an address to the city of Thebes. And also he addresses Zeus, or the chorus addresses Zeus, and he asks them to come over the Parnassian hills, come over the sighing sea, now come over all these geographical entities and come to Thebes so that you can settle down the problems and you can offer a solution to all crises that we confront as of now. So it's an address both to the city of Thebes as well as to the god, the greatest of all gods, and who is Zeus. Enter a messenger from the side of the stage. Messenger. Here, men of Cadmus city, hear and attend, men of the house of Amphion, people of Thebes. So initially, messenger says, here, men of Cadmus city. Cadmus is one of the founders of the Thebes city. And then he says, and attend, men of the house of Amphion. Amphion is the god who constructed the walls around Thebes. What is the life of a man? A thing not fixed for good or evil, fashioned for praise or blame. Chance raises a man to the heights, chance casts him down. So this points out the Greeks' belief in man's life as something which is based on destiny. They had strong belief in destiny. They believe that it's destiny that determines the course of your life. And this particular statement being made here by the messenger is indicative of that. Chance raises a man to the heights, chance casts him down. And none can foretell what will be from what is. Crayon was once an enviable man. He saved his country from her enemies, assumed the sovereign power, and bore it well. The honored father of a royal house. Now all is lost. So this is the news that the messenger gives to the chorus. He has lost everything. For life without life's joys is living death. And such a life is his. Riches and rank and show of majesty and state where no joy is are empty, vain, and unsubstantial shadows of no way to be compared with happiness of heart. So this is what has happened to Crayon. He has lost the happiness, the joy of his life. And if you lose life's joys, then you are as good as death. So Chorus understands that something terrible has happened. Chorus: What is your news? Disaster in the royal house? Messenger: Death, and the guilt of it on living heads. Chorus: Who dead, and by what hand? Messenger: Haman is dead, slain by his own. Chorus: His father? Messenger: His own hand. So we are told that Haman has committed suicide. He has killed himself. Messenger: His own hand. His father's act, it was that drove him to it. Chorus: Then all has happened as the prophet said. So this is what Tiresias had prophesied earlier, that Crayon will lose his son. And that is what has happened now. Messenger: What is next to do? Your worships will decide. The palace door opens. Chorus: Here comes the queen, Eurydice. Poor soul, it may be she has heard about her son. Eurydice is Crayon's wife and Haman's mother. And enter Eurydice attended by women. Eurydice: My friends, I heard something of what you were saying as I came to the door. I was on my way to prayer at the temple of Pallas. Pallas is goddess Athena in Greek mythology, the goddess of wisdom. I was on my way to prayer at the temple of Pallas and had barely turned the latch when I caught your talk of some near calamity. So I was going to pray to Athena. And that is when I heard you talking about some sort of calamity that has befallen. I was sick with fear and reeled in the arms of my women. But tell me what is the matter? What have you heard? I am not unacquainted with grief, and I can bear it. Messenger: Madam, it was I that saw it and will tell you all. To try to make it any lighter now would be to prove myself a liar. Truth is always the best. It was thus. So this is where the messenger is going to narrate what happened to Haman, and the various events that went off stage happened away from the palace. It was thus: I attended your husband, the king, to the edge of the field where lay the body of Polynices in a pitiable state, mauled by the dogs. We prayed for him to the goddess of the roads. Goddess of the roads is another name for Hecate, who is a goddess of the underworld, who sends apparitions to frighten travelers at night. So we have a reference to Hecate being made there. So they prayed for him to the goddess of the roads and also to Pluto. Pluto is another name for Hades, the god of the underworld, that they might have mercy upon him. We washed the remains in holy water, and on a fire of fresh cut branches we burned all that was left of him. So they first of all they went to Polynices. They buried him. They prayed to gods and they buried him. They burned all that was left of him, and raised over his ashes a mound of his native earth. That done, we turned towards the deep rock chamber of the maid that was married with death. And after that, we went to the rock-hewn chamber, the rock chamber wherein which Antigone was imprisoned. Before we reached it, one that stood near the accursed place had heard loud cries of anguish and came to tell King Crayon. So before we reached there, there was this sentry who came running to Crayon and said that there were loud cries coming from the chamber. As he approached came strange uncertain sounds of lamentation, and he cried aloud, Unhappy wretch! Is my foreboding true? Is this the most sorrowful journey that ever I went? My son's voice greets me. So it's a voice of Haman that they have been hearing. Go, some of you, quickly through the passage where the stones are thrown apart, into the mouth of the cave, and see if it be my son, my own son Haman, that I hear. If not, I am the sport of goats. So see if it is Haman who is crying, who is wailing inside the chamber. We went and looked, as bidden by our anxious master. There, in the furthest corner of the cave, we saw her hanging by the neck. So this is the sight that they see once they go inside the rock chamber. He was, she was hanging by the neck. Antigone commits suicide. The rope was of the woven linen of her dress. So her woven linen dress, Antigone used that to hang herself. And with his arms about her, there stood he, lamenting his lost bride, his luckless love, his father's cruelty. And at the bottom, there was Haman, and he was crying. He was lamenting for his lost bride. And this was his father's cruelty. When Crayon saw them, into the cave he went, mourning piteously. So even Crayon is sad. It's because of him that all these have happened, and he is sad about that. Oh, my unhappy boy, he cried again. What have you done? What madness brings you here to your destruction? Come away, my son. My son, I do beseech you, come away. His son looked at him with one angry stare, spat in his face, and then without a word drew sword and struck out. So this is what Haman does. He spits on Crayon's face and he takes out his sword and strikes out at Crayon. But his father fled unscathed. Crayon wasn't injured. He fled unscathed, uninjured. Whereon the poor demented boy, demented means someone who is affected with madness, someone who has become mad. Whereon the poor demented boy leaned on his sword and thrust it deeply home in his own side, and while his life ebbed out, embraced the maid in loose enfolding arms, his spurting blood staining her pale cheeks red. So there we find that Haman has also committed suicide. He drives home the sword into himself. He kills himself with his sword, and as he dies, he embraces Antigone. And hearing this, Eurydice goes quickly back into the palace. Two bodies lie together, wedded in death. Their bridal sleep a witness to the world how great calamity can come to man through man's perversity. So their bridal sleep, the entire sight of uh, Haman and uh, Antigone lying dead, is a great lesson to man of how great calamity can come to man through man's perversity. Perversity means sinful life. Chorus. But what is this? The queen has turned and gone without a word. Messenger. Yes, it is strange. The best that I can hope is that she would not sorrow for her son before us all, but vents her grief in private among her women. So chorus says, why has Eurydice gone back into the palace in a hurry? Messenger says, I believe that she is going to vent her grief in private. She might share her grief to her fellow women. She is too wise, I think, to take a false step rashly. Chorus, it may be. Yet there is danger in unnatural silence. So Chorus believes that there is danger in unnatural silence. Now, Eurydice did not respond, did not say anything when she came to understand that her son has died, has perished. And Chorus says there is danger in unnatural silence, no less than in excess of lamentation. Messenger, I will go in and see whether in truth there is some fatal purpose in her grief. Such silence, as you say, may well be dangerous. And the messenger goes in, and the king enters. Enter attendants preceding the king. Chorus. The king comes here. What the tongue scarce dares to tell must now be known by the burden that proves too well the guilt no other man's but his alone. So Chorus makes a statement that all these have happened because of his ill doings, because um, of his perversity, the sinful life that he has had so far. Enter Crayon with the body of Haman. Crayon. The sin of the erring soul drives hard unto death. Behold the slayer, the slain, the father, the son. So he says, behold, see the slayer and the slain, the murderer and the murdered. The father is the murderer and the son is the one who has been murdered. Oh, the curse of my stubborn will. So he again admits his mistake. He accepts his mistake. He realizes that it's because of his stubbornness, because of his stubborn will, that all these have happened. Oh, the curse of my stubborn will. Son, newly cut off in the newness of youth, dead for my fault, not yours. Chorus. Alas, too late you have seen the truth. So you have realized the truth, but you have realized it very late. Crayon. I learn in sorrow. Upon my head God has delivered this heavy punishment, has struck me down in the ways of wickedness, and trod my gladness under foot. Such is the bitter affliction of mortal man. This is when the messenger enters from the palace. Messenger, so you have this and more than this to bear. Within there is more to know, more to your pain. So there is more sad news for you. That is what the messenger says. Crayon, what more? What pain can overtop this pain? Messenger, she is dead, your wife, the mother of him that is dead. So as this play is a tragedy, we expect this. All the major characters are supposed to meet with their end, but as of now, a Crayon is in a terrible situation. He is the one who confronts all their deaths. Antigone is dead, Haman is dead, and now his wife. Eurydice is also dead. She is dead, your wife, the mother of him that is dead, the death wound fresh in her heart. Alas, poor lady. So she stabbed herself to death. Crayon. Insatiable death, wilt thou destroy me yet? What say you, teller of evil? I am already dead. And is there more? Blood upon blood. More death, my wife? The central doors open, revealing the body of Eurydice. Chorus. Look then and see, nothing is hidden now. Crayon. Oh, second horror. The first horror is the death of his son, and the second horror is the death of his wife. What fate awaits me now? My child here in my arms, and there the other, the son, the mother. So he has lost everything that was too valuable for him, which he treated as something which is precious in his life. Messenger. There at the altar with the whetted knife, whetted means sharpened knife, she stood, and as the darkness dimmed her eyes, called on the dead, her elder son, and this, and with her dying breath, cursed you, their slayer. So before Eurydice died, she cursed you, who is actually the reason behind both their deaths. Crayon. Oh, horrible. Is there no sword for me to end this misery? So even Crayon wants to commit suicide. He doesn't want to suffer this anymore. He has lost everything that was valuable to him and now he wants to die. Is there no sword for me to end this misery? Messenger. Indeed, you bear the burden of two deaths. It was her dying word. Crayon. And her last act? Messenger. Hearing her son was dead, with her own hand she dropped the sharp sword home into her heart. So that is how Eurydice committed suicide. She stabbed herself to death. Crayon. There is no man can bear this guilt but I. So he finally accepts it. He feels that he is the only reason behind both their deaths. There is no man can bear this guilt but I. It is true, I killed him. Lead me away, away, I live no longer. Chorus. It were best if anything is best in evil times. What is soonest done is best when all is ill. Crayon, come, my last hour and fairest, my only happiness. So Crayon says, Crayon calls death as his only happiness now, and he calls it his last hour and the fairest of all hours. And death finally becomes something which is very beautiful to him. And this is something which he wanted to give it to others. He was an authoritative kind of ruler. He turned himself into an authoritative kind of ruler. And now he craves for nothing but death. Come, my last hour and fairest, my only happiness, come soon. Let me not see another day. Away, away. Chorus. The future is not to be known. Our present care is with the present. The rest is in other hands. The chorus says, we don't know what is going to happen to you in the future. But let's think about the present. Crayon. I ask no more than I have asked. I need only death. Give me death, because that is what is going to make me happy enough. Chorus. Ask nothing. What is to be, no mortal can escape. So you don't have to ask for anything. What you are destined to, you will reach there. Crayon. I am nothing. I have no life. Lead me away, that have killed unwittingly my son, my wife. I know not where I should turn, where look for help. My hands have done amiss, my head is bowed with fate too heavy for me. So finally, Crayon is in a state of complete acceptance. He knows he is the reason for their death and the reason for everything bad that has happened in the palace and to his family. So he doesn't want to live anymore and he exits. Chorus. This is the Exodus, the final part of the Greek tragedy, the song which the chorus sing as they leave the stage. Of happiness, the crown, and chiefest part is wisdom. So the chiefest part, the most, the what you need, the important thing that you need when you are in power, when you ascend to the throne, when you wear the crown, is wisdom. And also to hold the gods in awe. Always pay respect to gods. Always see them with wonder. And this is something which Crayon did not do. Now, he misused his power and also he challenged the gods. This is the law that seeing the stricken heart of pride brought down, we learn when we are old. So this is the lesson that we get. Now, the tragedies which were performed during Dionysius festivals during Sophocles' time, they mostly ended with a lesson. And as far as Antigone is concerned, the lesson that we learn is, pride shall bring down a man, or gods will bring down a man whose heart is so full of pride. To name it in the Greek uh, term, hubris. And gods will definitely bring you down if your heart and mind is filled with pride. And chorus says, this is the lesson that we learn when we are old. This is the lesson that we learn when we experience life, when we confront various events, or when we confront different characters or the downfall of different characters in our lives. And that is where the play ends. So I hope Antigone, the story of Antigone is pretty much clear to you. Um, the story of Antigone, you'll be able to enjoy the complete story only if you have an understanding regarding the story of Oedipus as well. So this is a trilogy actually. Antigone was written first, then Oedipus the king, and later on Oedipus at Colonus. But the way you have to read is Oedipus the king. You have to read that particular play first. Then you have to go on to Oedipus at Colonus, and finally you have to come to Antigone. Then you will have a proper understanding of the story. But please always bear in this mind chronologically, Antigone was written first, then Oedipus the king, and finally Oedipus at Colonus. So I hope you had a good time learning Antigone with me. Thank you so much for being with me.